because of your temper?
No.
Okay. How often do you get upset? You know, just really mad. And I noticed when you were talking with your mom and your mom was talking about your dad that was upsetting you, how often do you feel that feeling?
Whenever she says his name, because she's always talking bad about him.
So would you say moderate or severe?
Severe.
How often do you destroy property when you're angry?
Like every other time or something.
Okay, so
Mild.
mild. Okay. How often has she gotten into trouble because of the behaviors we just outlined?
Well, she's in trouble constantly at home whenever she comes out of her room. She's not doing what she needs to do at home. She gets in trouble at school a couple times a week.
Okay, so maybe moderate to severe? Sounds like.
Moderate, I guess.
Okay. Now, some of these questions that I'm going to ask, we've already asked, and I think I have the answer, but I just want to make sure we're being consistent. So just, answer appropriately. How often do you use alcohol? None. How often do you use drugs? How often do you gamble? How much are you sexually active?
No.
How often are you preoccupied with the opposite sex? Do you think about boys? Okay. How much do you have access to the internet? Do you get on the computer and access the internet?
For school.
For school. So would you say none, mild, moderate, or severe?
Mild.
Okay. How much have you watched or looked at pornography? None? Okay. How much do you talk about sex or sexual subjects? Okay. And you've never gotten into trouble because of these behaviors we just talked about? Okay. How often do you feel depressed?
Every day.
Okay. How often do you feel hyper and fidgety?
Every day.
How often do you have trouble following the rules?
Every day.
How often do you have sudden outbursts of anger where you just got angry and it just was right away, it was immediate?
A couple times a week.
Okay. How often do you get physically aggressive?
A couple times a week, I guess.
Okay. So how often do you engage in compulsive behaviors where you feel the need to do the same thing over and over again? No, none. Okay. These are yes or no questions. How often do you feel bad that things don't seem real, like you're in a dream? You do feel that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I should have said, have you felt that? Okay. Have you ever had anything very bad or terrifying happen to you? And we talked about this before, but have you ever been raped or threatened with rape? Okay. And we've talked about this as well. Have you ever been a victim of sexual, emotional, or physical abuse? Do you have dreams or recurring thoughts about something that's happened before? Can you tell me what that is?
It's about my dad leaving.
Is that the same thing about what's been very bad and terrifying happening to you? Okay. Have you ever seen anyone killed, like in your neighborhood? Okay. Now, some of these questions may be kind of funny for you, but all I just need from you is a yes or no. Have you ever stated that you've heard voices other people can't hear? Have you ever felt that other people control your brain or thoughts? Okay. Have you ever stated that you see people other people can't see? Okay. Okay. And do you feel you have special powers? Would you like some?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. But you don't feel you have special
No.
powers. Okay. And we've talked about this before, but again, with the assessment, we're just trying to look for validity and reliability. So I'm going to ask you some questions about drug abuse, and this is something that we ask all of our clients. So if it's a no and it doesn't apply to you, just go down the list and say no. But if something applies, say yes, okay?
I already told you no.
I know, but if you could just do this for me, humor me for kicks, that would be helpful to the assessment. Is that okay? Okay. Have you used drugs other than those required for medical reasons?
No.
Okay. Have you abused prescription drugs?
No.
Do you abuse more than one drug? Thank you. Can you get through the week?
No. Yes.
Aha, Summer. Are you always able to stop using drugs and alcohol when you want to?
Yes.
Have you had blackouts or flashbacks as a result of drug and alcohol use?
No.
Do you ever feel bad or guilty about your drug and alcohol use?
No.
Do your parents ever complain about your involvement with drugs and alcohol?
Nope.
Has drug and alcohol abuse created problems between you and your parents?
Nope.
Have you lost friends because of your use of drugs and alcohol?
Nope.
Have you neglected your family because of your use of drugs and alcohol?
No.
Have you been in trouble at school or work because of your use of drugs and alcohol?
No.
Have you lost your job because of drug and alcohol abuse?
I don't have one.
That's right. Guess you're a little underage, huh? Have you gotten into fights when under the influence of drugs and alcohol?
No.
Have you
Does
engaged?
Ramon drink?
Does
No.
Ramon drink? Okay.
He doesn't.
Okay. Have you engaged in illegal activities in order to obtain drugs and alcohol? Have you been arrested for possession? And I guess it's safe to say you haven't had any withdrawal symptoms. Okay. And you've never had medical problems because of drugs and alcohol? And I guess it's safe to say that you haven't received treatment for drugs and alcohol. Okay. Okay, thank you. I want to go back over the suicidal homicidal ideation. Mom, I want you to weigh in, and then Claire, I want to talk a little bit more about what you talked about earlier. Summer, I'm so sorry. Summer, I would like to have you weigh in again, okay? You talked about your plan. You talked about the razor. It's usually when you feel or think about thoughts of your dad leaving you. How often would you say you had these thoughts?
Like every other couple months or something since he left.
Okay, so that's pretty frequent. Would you say in the last year it's been 6 times?
No, maybe like 3.
Okay. What has kept you from doing it? What has kept you from completing your plan?
Well, if I die, then I'm really never gonna see him.
Okay. So you really don't want to die. You just want to see your dad. Okay.
But I mean, it might really show my mom what I'm talking about because she never listens to me when I tell her how upset it makes me.
Okay.
I know it makes her upset, but she has to realize at some point that he's just no good. It's not her, it's just him. It's why we're divorced.
Okay. So every time your mom says that, is that when you start to really feel like you want to commit suicide? Do you think maybe you're doing it to get back at your mom because she's angering you about your dad? Okay, you're not sure. Okay.
Why should be angry at me? He's the one that left.
Okay. Do you ever cut on yourself? Since you mentioned the razor, have you ever cut on yourself? Have you ever tried? Okay. Mom, I would like to talk about the contract for safety because I am concerned about what Summer has shared. And what a contract for safety is just saying that she will not commit suicide. Summer would agree that she would not commit suicide, and we'd have some numbers of people she could call to talk about her feelings with. And if she ever felt that she was in danger, she would have about 2 or 3 or 4 numbers that she could call. And at the end, I would like to recommend services of the assessment, but I just wanted to let you know what the contract for safety plan is and kind of how it works. Is that okay? Summer, do you think you could do that, or would you be willing to sign a contract for safety? Okay. Summer, if we, or I'm definitely going to recommend services. What would you like to get out of your recovery? If we work on some of these sad feelings that you're having and some of this anger that you're having, what would you like to get out of your recovery?
I don't like being so down all the time.
Okay.
And I want to see my dad.
So you want to see your dad and you want to be in a more happy space? Okay. There are 2 more assessments I want to utilize for Summer before we order services and talk about goals. And then I'll kind of tell you what I believe my assessment is and then get your feedback, okay? Summer, kind of like what we just did with the other questionnaire, I'm going to read some sentences to you, and I want you to respond with not at all, a little, some, and a lot. But when you're reading these, or when I'm reading these to you, I want you to think about how you have felt or acted in the past week or during the past week, okay? During the past week, I was bothered by things that usually don't bother me. Have you felt this? Not at all, a little, some, a lot.
A lot.
During the past week, I did not feel like eating. I wasn't very hungry.
A lot.
During the past week, I couldn't feel happy, even when my family or friends tried to help me feel better.
A lot.
During the past week, I felt like I was just as good as other kids.
A little bit.
A little, okay. During the past week, I felt I couldn't pay attention to what I was doing.
A lot.
During the past week, I felt down and unhappy.
A lot.
During the past week, I felt like I was too tired to do things.
A little bit.
Okay. During the past week, I felt like something good was going to happen.
Sometimes.
Okay. During the past week, I felt like things I did before didn't work out right.
A little bit.
Okay. And during the past week, I felt scared.
A little bit.
During the past week, I didn't sleep as well as I usually do.
A little bit.
During the past week, I was happy.
A little bit.
Okay. During the past week, I was more quiet than usual.
Yeah.
Not at all, a little, some, and a lot.
Some.
Some. Okay. During the past week, I felt lonely, like I didn't have any friends.
Sometimes.
During the past week, I felt like kids I know were not friendly or that they didn't want to be with me. During the past week, I felt like kids I know were not friendly or they didn't want to be with me.
Sometimes.
Okay, these are the last questions on this one. During the past week, I had a good time.
A little bit.
During the past week, I felt like crying.
Sometimes.
During the past week, I felt sad.
Sometimes.
During the past week, I felt people didn't like me.
Sometimes.
And during the past week, it was hard to get started doing things.
Sometimes.
Okay. Okay. And then finally, we're going to do the last screening or assessment. And Mom, I want you to be a part of this as well, so you can help me. What we're going to do is I'll read the sentence kind of like I did before. If the sentence rings true and you see the presence of what I'm saying, say present. If not, say absent. And if you can't even think about it, say unknown. During the past 6 months, did Summer often fail to give close attention to details or make careless mistakes in schoolwork, work, or other activities?
Yes.
Okay. Often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activities.
Yes.
Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly.
Yes.
Often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties at work.
Yes.
Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities.
No.
Often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks requiring sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework.
Yes.
Often loses things necessary for tasks or activities, toys, school assignments, pencils, books. Yes.
Yes.
Is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
Is often forgetful in daily activities.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Often fidgets with hands or feet.
Yes.
Often leaves her seat in the classroom or in other situations in which remaining seated is expected.
No.
Often runs about or climbs excessively in situations when it's inappropriate to do so.
No. Not
Okay.
too much.
Often has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly.
No.
Is often on the go or often acts as if driven by a motor.
No.
Often talks excessively.
No.
No. Often blurts out answers before questions have been completed.
She used to do that, but
Not so
I haven't
much?
been hearing that lately.
Okay. Often has difficulty awaiting her turn.
Yes.
Okay. And often interrupts or intrudes on others. For example, butting into conversations or games.
Yeah.
Okay. Have these behaviors existed for more than 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
At which age did these behaviors first cause a problem for your child? How old?
Probably kindergarten or first grade.
Maybe like 5 or 6? Okay. And during the past 6 months, have these behaviors caused problems for Summer at home,
Yes.
in school?
Yes.
Okay. Have these behaviors created problems or impairment in Summer in social relationship with others? Academic performance?
Not social, academic. She's always had to work really hard to get her grades to be A's. But she always has worked really hard with that. So, I'm not sure yes and no.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You think I'm stupid?
No, not at
You're
all.
Smart. That's what.
That's what, yeah, that was one of the strengths she gave.
It's just that like sitting down to do homework is so hard.
Okay. I do see some features of ADHD and more from the inattentive side rather than the hyperactive, impulsive side. So now that I have that insight from this assessment, we can go ahead and start talking about the goals, if that's okay. Okay. Based on our child depression inventory, Summer, you are presenting like you're very depressed, and that's not a bad thing. That's just letting us know where you are and how we can help you. So, would you like to address some of these feelings of sadness you have so that you can feel happy again and begin cheering again?
Maybe.
Okay. So what I'm seeing, Mom, is that in addition to the ADHD piece, which is the fidgeting and maybe causing her some problems at school, I think depression is more what Summer is struggling with, specifically surrounding the separation of you and your soon-to-be ex-husband, as well as you have a new boyfriend with Ramon, and she's not really happy about that relationship.
So it's my fault she's depressed?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying all of these situations and how she's responding to the situations are causing the depression. Another piece is her dad. She really would like to see more of her father, and for whatever reason, that's not happening, and that's probably
He tries to.
he does? And what's keeping him? Why do you think he's trying to?
Because I know he does.
You do? How do you know?
Because he loves me.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. So based on that, that's why you think he's trying? Has he tried to call you?
Well, she won't let him call me.
Is that true,
She
Mom?
won't let him come over.
I don't let him come over. That part's true. But I don't stop him from calling her.
Okay. And therein lies another piece to the puzzle. It looks as though we need to work on some family communication between you and Summer, and it'd be nice if we could get Dad on board to come in and talk.
Good luck.
Yeah. With your consent, maybe we could reach out to Dad. Summer, would you like that? Okay. Would you be agreeable and willing to work with him?
Do I have to meet with him? I mean,
You don't have to. You don't have to. It would be
See, she's being difficult.
oftentimes with divorce, Summer, parents don't get along well, and sometimes children have a hard time with that. But what we could do is work with Summer individually on her specific depression and how she's responding to all of this change and transition. And then probably I'd like to recommend CSI. Remember, I was talking about that early, to help her with some coping skills, to help her get back out of her room, doing some of the things that she enjoys. And then as a third goal, we could have some family therapy. In the beginning, it could just be you and Summer working on how to communicate and processing the divorce and how it's impacting Summer.
Does Ramon have to be there?
No, he doesn't. It could be just you and your mom, or it could be you and your dad.
I think if you can fix her dad, that would be great.
Well, unfortunately, he's not here. So he would have to be assessed pretty much the same way Summer was assessed. And if you would like, you mentioned that, you had some struggles earlier in the assessment. We could refer services for you to help you as a mom, give you that support that you may need from the divorce. What are your thoughts about that?
We'll see.
Okay. So not at this point. Well, just know that it's always available if you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the goals more at length. Summer, would you like a specific goal that we could work on? Because this isn't just me giving you goals. You have a say.
I don't know.
Do you know what a goal is, Summer?
Yes, I know what a goal is.
You mentioned that you wanted to see your dad and talk to your dad. Do you think you would like to have some family therapy with your dad? Okay. Okay. We talked about addressing Summer's individual depression and reactions to the divorce. Would you like to do that, Summer? Okay. Okay. Mom, would you be willing to work with Summer as a family, just the two of you, until we could bring Dad in later?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then we'll do some coping skills. How does that sound? Okay.
And this will stop her from fidgeting so much too.
Oh, yes, we do need a goal. I appreciate your bringing that up to my remembrance. What we could do is have a CSI worker work with her in terms of her behavioral issues regarding concentration and completing tasks, because again, she was more inattentive than hyperactive, but I certainly can put that as a goal. Okay. Just as a clarifying question, or not even a clarifying question, just to go over one last thing. Has Summer ever been diagnosed with autism or had any experiences with organic mental disorder or traumatic brain issues? Okay. Okay. So right now I'm recommending individual